Here we are now in the next unit on municipal educational securities. It's a little weird. These technically are municipal securities. The educational plans that we're going to be talking about are issued by the state, which does make them municipal securities. But don't think that these are municipal bonds. They are not the municipal bonds that we discussed in Chapter 1. They are quite different. They simply have the same issuer. They're very, very different in what they do and how they work. The first one we're going to talk about is the least important. The Section 529 prepaid tuition. The prepaid tuition is important. 529 is a great plan. The prepaid tuition is garbage. The idea with the prepaid tuition is we're able to purchase tuition at today's rates for the future. But it's only good at participating state universities. They're not very flexible. It can be a problem if the child in, say, 18 years decides they don't want to go to an in-state university. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure children can change their opinions on things in 18 years. So if you're saving up in this form and they decide not to go, you may be stuck basically just getting your money back. No interest, just your money back, which can be really, really bad. These are rarely dealt with. The 529 savings plans, on the other hand, are what we generally will deal with when clients want to get or start saving for their children's education. These are state-sponsored municipal funds for post-secondary and now some K through 12 education. It funds post-secondary, and the K through 12 is up to $10,000 a year. That changed January 1st, 2018, so it is still a relatively new change. Before then, Section 529 plans were only useful for post-secondary education, no K through 12. Now 529s can be used to pay for charter school and other private K through 12 education. These are after-tax contributions. They use what's referred to as the gift tax limits. That is $15,000 per person per year in 2018, and you can actually do a 5-year lump sum, which means I could do $15,000 for my child, let's say Brianna, my daughter Brianna, and I want to put in $15,000 a year. I can do that. I also could put 5 years up front. That's $75,000 once, but that's per person. I could put in $75,000 in the first year. My wife could put in $75,000. Each of her parents, each of my parents, any of you generous people watching could all put in $75,000. So there could be a lot of money real fast in here. This is per donor, per person, not per account or child. It is tax-deferred growth, just like with the retirement plans we recently discussed. These are tax-deferred. You're putting the money in, and you're not paying the taxes on the growth each year. The 529 plans are actually based on the IRS codes, on the Roth IRA idea. They're very similar in a lot of the ways, other than what a qualified withdrawal is. In the 529 case, it has to be for education. In the Roth IRA case, if you remember, you had to be over 59 and a half. You had to have it at least 5 years. There were some other things like that. The distributions are tax-free for qualified education. The qualified expenses are tax-free, the qualified withdrawals. And there are no income limits. Warren Buffett could open a 529 for me, and if any of you watching know him and could get in touch with him to see if he'd be interested, I'd be very grateful on that. But Warren Buffett could open 529s. Coverdell Educational Savings Account, also known as CESAs or ESAs or Coverdells. There's all kinds of things. These are a bit different than 529s. These are after-tax contributions, just like 529s, but the limit is $2,000 per child per year, up until the child turns 18. That means if I go and I put in $2,000 into Brianna's Coverdell, nobody else can put any money towards any Coverdell for Brianna. That's it. That's it. $2,000 per child. That's it. They got the $2,000. That means the most that can be put into this, because that's $2,000 per year, up to age 18, that's 18 years. Well, that's $36,000. That's the absolute most that can be put into a Coverdell. I can put more than twice that into a 529 in year one, on day one. I can put $75,000 in. These are tax-free withdrawals for qualified education, any education. The reason Coverdells at least used to be useful was to help pay for charter schools. But with the law changing in 2018, the beginning of it, well, now 529s can be used for that. I don't really know the purpose of Coverdells anymore, to be honest with you. You know what they are, but you're not really likely to deal with them in the real world anymore. There are also income limits on the donor. Warren Buffett would not be able to open a Coverdell for me, even if I was young enough to actually be able to do this. Not just that, it must be used by age 30. There is no age limit on 529s. Anyone can have a 529. But a Coverdell can only be funded up until the child turns 18, and all of the money must be used by age 30, or it's removed from the Coverdell and penalized and taxed as if it was a non-qualified withdrawal, because effectively it is, but it's a forced non-qualified withdrawal. Both Coverdells and 529s can be passed to other family members. So if I start turning 29, it could be transferred to my younger sister, who is now still under 30, so she could use the money or things like that. The comparison between 529s and educational savings account, Coverdells, both are after-tax contribution. 529s have no income limits. Coverdells do. Both are tax-deferred growth. Both are tax-free distributions for any education. There's limits on the 529, only $10,000 per year. I also don't think 529s pay for uniforms, but I'm not sure on that one. Weird little things like that are not important. There's a gift tax limit of $15,000 per year donation limit on the 529s. Could do 5-year lump sum, while Coverdell's only $2,000 per year per student. As I said, I don't know why Coverdells would be used anymore now that they changed the 529 rules. Now we've got to understand. Sorry about that. We have to understand the difference between owner and beneficiary. In most cases, when we talk about these terms, the owner and beneficiary are the same person. When I'm buying stock, I'm the owner and it's for my benefit. When I'm doing an annuity, I'm the owner and generally the beneficiary and annuitant when they're doing those things. But a 529 case, the owner and beneficiary are not going to be the same person in the vast majority of cases. You theoretically, with a 529, could go and open one. I could go and open a 529 on myself right now. And in 5 years, when I have a child, Brianna, I don't actually have any kids right now, I just make up names. But when I have Brianna, I could use my 529 money for her education. Which means I could start saving for my child's education before they're even born with 529s, because I could do it on myself. But normally, the beneficiary is the child, and the owner is the parent or grandparent. One of the things you want to understand, at least for the real world, I don't think this is particularly relevant on the exams, is how financial help, financial funding, financial aid, that was the word I was looking for, how financial aid works when you're applying for it at college. There are two people that they look at, and there's two types of money in each of those persons. They're looking at the student, and looking at the student's assets and the student's income. They're also looking at the parents' assets, and the parents' income. Those are the four things they're looking at. 80% is on the student's assets and income. 20%, it's hard to do with the fingers, 20% is on the parents. Which means if you're doing the 529 and the parents own the account, only 20% is really cared about for financial aid. Whereas if you're using something like an UGMA or UTMA account for college money, those are registered to the name of the child. And because they are in ownership by the child, the student, when financial aid offices look, the student is going to have a lot of potential assets and maybe potential income from the UGMA, UTMA, and that's going to more likely kick them out of financial aid than if the parents had that in a 529. Cartoon time. Your mother and I need more time to save for your college education. We'd like you to go back to kindergarten and start over. If only. Now, those are the most common types of educational funds, which are the most common types of municipal funds that are not bonds. There are some others that are on the SIE, at least where you need to recognize what they are, and some of them get a little weird. Like LGIPs or LGIPs. I don't know what that acronym is supposed to be, but it's the local government investment pools. These are not regulated by the SEC, but they're similar to mutual funds. These are designed to provide state and local government public entities the ability to invest public funds, designed to offer safety with competitive yields, have a history of good management, but there can be losses, there are risks in these. And it's required to provide regular disclosures, documentations, reporting, things like that, like a normal investment would. I can't imagine you know anything more than likely that these are municipal funds, that these are not regulated by the SEC, and basically the definition of what they are. ABLE accounts, these are tax advantage savings accounts for individuals with disabilities and their families. These are pretty simple because that's all there really is about them. You don't need any of the details. You just need to know what they are. That they, I guess, are issued by municipalities, by states. They're funded by them and assisted by them with tax benefits, and they're designed for disabilities and their families. That does bring us to the end of this unit. When dealing with the education, it's definitely tested. This unit definitely you will likely see at least one question from it. But it's not a heavily tested. Much more going to be useful in the real world when you're dealing with clients and trying to help them with college funding, which is an important topic for a lot of families. But I hope you enjoyed this unit, and I will see you again shortly.